I've got every fighting style from Blox Fruits in a tier list, and I'm going to be ranking them to decide what the true best fighting style in the game is. These are going to be ranked from 6 things: how hard it is to obtain, the visuals, the damage in PvP, and then grinding, enjoyment, and finally how functional it is. And we're starting with Dark Step. That's right, not combat. And I'll get into just why later on. But in terms of obtaining Dark Step, as long as you've got the cash requirement, you could buy it instantly in the first sea, making it already like very good to obtain. Now, if we're speaking visuals, the way that you kick is honestly kind of cool. You've then got the first move, Flying Kick, which is, well, a flying kick. You've got Breakdance, where you become a Beyblade, and then you've got Barrage, which is like a kick barrage. And if you click Overheat, you do like a little spin, and then your moves do more damage and become like flamey versions, which are very good, actually. In terms of damage, and this is going to be the same for like basically every single fighting style, the damage is good, especially on the left clicks. But in terms of ability damage, the only way you're really doing a ton is if you hit them with a Barrage or the Breakdance, which is rarely going to happen unless you're grinding. So for grinding, this fighting style is pretty good, but for PvP, you've got to be someone with true skill, which I am not. Now, in terms of how fun this fighting style is, it's definitely on the lower side. Its moves just don't really last too long. The problem with this fighting style is all the moves pretty much lock you into an action, so you can't like actually do anything. Like I'm spamming WASD, but I can't move. And then finally, if we're talking about how functional this fruit is, it's definitely not that functional. You've got like no movement abilities. That traps you in place, or rather you've got no good movement abilities, I should say. And then these moves here, you can still take damage if you're a bit too close. So for that reason, Dark Step, it's just got to be C tier. There's nothing special. It's not that great. Next up, we have got the electric fighting style. And if you ignore my spicy feats, you get it from this guy, the Mad Scientist. But this one costs 500k. So in the first sea, you better have double money, or this is going to be hard to afford. But because you can simply obtain it in the first sea, it is definitely very easy to get. In terms of visuals of this fighting style, I mean, the electric hands is kind of cool. The actual moves, you've got Stomp, which you do a Goomba Stomp with a bit of lightning. Electric Tackle is just like a dash forwards. And then Electric Floor, which, as it suggests, you turn the floor into electricity. But if I'm being honest, it just doesn't look as cool as actual lightning like fruits and swords, which is definitely where it falls short. Now, once again, damage for PvP and grinding is about the same. However, I feel like electric is very hard to use in PvP. Once again, might just be because I'm a noob, but realistically, how are you going to catch a sky camper or somebody with electric floor? It's got such small range. Stomp locks you in vertically, and electric tackle goes like -2 meters. Like, that's the limit of the range. Now, what this fighting style does have compared to others is the fun. If you click Stomp and then you're above someone and slam down, it's pretty satisfying, which makes it kind of fun to use. But notice how I said kinda? Yep, honestly, it's kind of mid. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely not super functional either. Like, if I'm trying to move up this rock, electric tackle barely cuts it. Like, at that point, you're just gonna use double jump. And the same thing goes for trying to chase people down in PvP. Like, you're never gonna catch up to them with this fighting style. So for that reason, it has got to go. Same as Dark Step. Next on the tier list is Water Kung Fu. And this is one of my favorite fighting styles from the first sea. Now, to obtain this fighting style, you gotta come to underwater, which is pretty simple. And then you gotta go down like a sneaky little route, find this discolored part of the reef, walk through, and then you can get the fighting style. Which, other than the fact that it's maybe a tiny bit obscure to get, realistically, compared to some of the later ones, this is insanely easy to obtain. Now, for the visuals of Water Kung Fu, you've got like little bubbles on every single one of your punches, which is very cool. The first move is Steam Charged Fist, which fires off a bit of steam. Honestly, the most mid move of this fighting style. You've then got Deadly Shower, which is one of the coolest ones of this fighting style, leaving little puddles around on the floor. And then finally, Heavy Water Punch, which is like a dash forwards and a punch, and I just missed. Now, this fighting style is actually really cool, and it's for one simple reason. The X move of this fighting style has almost infinite range. You see that NPC over there? Because honestly, I kind of don't. It's a bit misty. But if I fire this, it hits all the way from there. I could be like halfway across the map and it would still hit, which makes this fighting style just so much fun to use. Now, it's not super functional because, like you saw, if you're too close, it is easy to miss the C move, and the Z move barely has any range. But if we're talking actual damage, this fighting style is kind of insane. So in terms of how functional it is, although you don't have much movement, the fact that you've got so much range more than makes up for it. Like that enemy all the way over there. Easy like, I did 3k damage from all the way over here, which I know you're not going to hit in PvP, but still, having the option of doing that is huge. So for that reason, Water Kung Fu, B tier. Definitely better than the other two from the first sea. This is the Dragon Breath fighting style. A super easy fighting style to get in the second sea because it only costs 1500 fragments from this guy. Now, with Dragon Breath, the visuals are honestly very mid. Probably one of the most mid in the game, just behind Dark Step. The actual damage of this fighting style is quite good, but not only is the Z move hard to hit, but the X move has very limited range, and the C move has so much charge up time, you're almost never going to hit it in PvP. At least that's what I've heard. Now, if we're talking about how fun this fighting style is to use, it's probably on the lower end because of just how annoying all the moves moves are to actually use. As you saw, I completely missed that attack right there because it was just slightly out of my range. And the charge up time of the C move makes it just quite annoying to use because you take useless damage for no reason. So in terms of how functional it is, I suppose it's got more movement than any of the other fighting styles we've looked at so far. But just because of how limiting it feels, I've got to put it C tier. Now we've got Superhuman, a staple of skilled builds on Blox Fruits. Now this fighting style is definitely the most difficult one to obtain we've seen so far. And for good reason. This fighting style is a mini Godhuman. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's Superhuman, not Godhuman. Its moves is a Z move, which does an insane wombo combo with a lot of damage. You've got Thunderclap, which is a giant area slam. And then the final move is Conqueror's Gun, which is a dash forward punch. Now, in terms of visuals, this fighting style looks terrible. But if we're purely talking damage, then this fighting style has got every single one we've seen so far beat, mainly due to its combo potential. So if we're talking how functional this is, Superhuman is probably one of the most functional fighting styles you could possibly get due to just all of the combo potential you have. Now, while you might be able to have a bunch of combos, getting this fighting style is not easy because you need every other fighting style we've seen so far with 300 mastery to even unlock it, which is just long to get. It's definitely not as bad as a couple of others we're gonna see, but still just so tedious to get. Also, in terms of this fighting style's movement, you've got 2 options to travel and gap close. So for that reason, Superhuman, A tier. I'm not putting it S tier because some of the other fighting styles are just so much better. Next on the list is Death Step. And this fighting style is just literally a better Dark Step. And when I say better, I mean much better. It just improves Dark Step in every single way. We've got a much better traveling move that you can actually use to gain some distance. You've got a ranged wind kick attack. You've got a better Beyblade move. Not sure how that was possible. And not just all of that, but when my cooldown's done, you can activate the flamey feats without having to get trapped in a cutscene, which is just so much better. And also what this does differently, it starts to leave flamey patches whenever you use any of your attacks, which is just so good for doing extra damage. Now, although this fighting style is very expensive and you need a lot of stuff to get it, the only real requirement you need is Dark Step to Mastery 400. Now, I genuinely think this fighting style is one of the more fun fighting styles in the game, mainly because of how much more movement it has compared to the first one. And the damage, definitely much better. But now here's where we run into a problem. Where does it go on the tier list? Honestly, I think if I had to rank this, I'd put it just below Superhuman, because while it's good, I don't think it's that good for extending combos, unless you use the C move, but that's about it. This is the Electric Claw fighting style, and you get it from this guy here, Previous Hero. Now, not only does it cost 3,005,000 fragments, but you do also need Electric to 400 mastery. There are also some quests you gotta go through to unlock this fighting style, but nothing too crazy. Now, in terms of visuals, Electric Claw is insanely cool. It's in every way just a better Electric. Now, for the actual attacks, you've got a Claw Barrage Strike thingy. You've got Lightning Thrust. And then the final move, Thunderclap and Flash. And every single one of these is a movement ability, which we haven't seen so far yet, which already makes this fighting style just so much more functional. Other than that, the fact that Lightning Thrust has such long range just goes to show that you only get this in the 3rd C. Now, Thunderclap and Flash as well has like lock-on properties, so like you can't miss unless you're terrible. But this fighting style has a secret not many people know about. If you have the Buddha fruits and you do a little cheeky transformation, you can get giant electric claws, which just look hilarious. So I gotta say, Electric Claw, I think is gonna be our first S rank. Next up is Sharkman Karate. And as you can see by the fact that I've got this Mastery 600, this is one of my favorite fighting styles in the game. Now, we haven't been ranking any of the fighting styles on this, but the sound effects of Sharkman Karate are just very clean. The visuals of the left clicks as well also look very good. The visuals of the Z move do look pretty cool. The X move also kind of clean. And the C move is basically just the X move again. And obtaining this fighting style is pretty simple. You can do it quite easily in the 2nd C, but you do need Water Kung Fu to 400 mastery, making it a little bit more difficult to obtain. Now, if we're talking damage and combo potential, this fighting style has a lot of them. With its C move pulling enemies towards you, you can combo this with so many different things. And also the Z move having such good movement. I don't think we've seen a fighting style with movement as good as that just yet. Even Electric Claw doesn't give you that much momentum. So because of its combo potential and its functionalness, I just sent that guy flying. This is the easiest S tier I've ever seen, and it's definitely better than Electric Claw as well. This right here is the Dragon Talon fighting style. A fighting style that is honestly very tedious to get. Like, it took me almost an entire day to get this one. But although it took me so long, the visuals of having flames on your hands is very cool. Now, the actual moves, you've got a Z move, which grabs them, and then the blue fire. It's so cool. You've also got an X move that fires off a very long range attack that if you aim, you can actually like control and move around, which is something super unique to this fighting style. And then you've also got the C C move, which is literally just a nuke. So with the damage of all of those, the range, the extra burn damage, and the blue fire, this is just a really fun fighting style to use. Can't even say it's not. It's also super functional because the load up time for that attack right there just isn't as long as Dragon Breath, which is one of the problems with Dragon Breath. This fighting style just fixes like every problem Dragon Breath had. Now, because of this guy right here, I've got to be careful where I place this or else my account might be gone forever. So yeah, this fighting style is so very easily, it's S tier. I can't even lie. It's just too good. No matter how much I don't want to admit it, Dragon Talon's just amazing. Now, next up is Godhuman, who you can get from this guy here, the Ancient Monk. Now, although that seemed easy to get, look at all these requirements. This is one of the hardest fighting styles to get in the entire game. There are just 2 fighting styles that are harder to get than this one. Now, other than the super cool rainbowy effect you get whenever you punch, this fighting style has insane damage, insane range, and an ability that just completely tracks. Also, the X move has like 2 forms. There's the tap move you just saw, and then like this hold move, which has AoE. There is a reason why this fighting style is called Godhuman. It just does insane amounts of damage. It has so much movement, and the C move is probably one of the most broken things in the entire game. Now, as I've not gotten much into PvP myself, you guys will have to let me know, but I assume the Godhuman is just one of the best things to have for PvP. Like, you probably can't go wrong with just having so many combo extenders. Now, this fighting style is so much fun to use. With how much movement it has, how much damage it has, the only thing I feel that's missing is maybe the visuals. Like, I suppose it does what it's meant to do, but I just feel like the recent stuff Blox has been cooking is just so much cooler than this. But even despite that, it's just in a league of its own. It's just the best. Top of S tier, easily. Next up, we have got Sanguine Arts, the latest fighting style to come out in Blox. And also, in my opinion, the hardest one to get, because just to unlock this fighting style, not only do you need all these materials, where these 2 are just annoying to grind, but you need a Leviathan heart, which means you need a Beast Hunter boat. You need to go find the Leviathan. You need to beat it. You need to bring the heart back. That's just so long. But hey, on the bright side, you get like a cool left click that has more range than other left clicks. You get a move that heals HP, a Nezuko ripoff move, and then a C move that just grabs people and then has delayed attacks. So in my opinion, it's definitely competing with Godhuman for being like super functional. The only thing that it's really lacking is movement, but in the damage department, it's just so much better. Now, what does set this fighting style apart for me is the fact that it's basically got the Buddha fruit built in. Like, you can left click NPCs without risk of being hit yourself because of the extra range, which is just really nice. Now, also for noobs like me in PvP, having the ability to just heal HP back is so good. Now, I can't say how good it actually is for combos, but just grinding in general, it's insane. And also, just the fact that it uses blood for its attacks, it's S tier. In fact, it's probably number 2. But now we're on to combat, and there is a reason why I've been saving this one till last. And that is because this fighting style, without even a logo, is impossible to get. Like, there's actually no way to get this, making it quite possibly the rarest fighting style in the entire game. As if you've used any of the other fighting styles before, it's impossible to have combat, which I gotta say, does kind of put it in a league of its own. Now, if we're talking damage numbers, look at that. I'm hitting for 50,000 every hit. That's right, combat is just that built different, and I only have 85 mastery. We've also got quick tackle, which, you know, it's a quick tackle. Godhuman could never. We've got ground smash as well, which has more range than seemingly the Dragon rework's gonna have. This fighting style is just infinitely better than everything else. Now, on a real note, I would normally put combat here and call it a day. However, not only is this the only way that you can deal damage at the start of the game, but the fact that it's basically extinct from as soon as you change it means that combat has actually got to go in this tier right here. Combat walked so we could run. If you're in the 3rd C, your max level, you've got like all this cool stuff. You've got to thank combat because it got you to this point. Unless you bought a permanent fruit, in which case you're cringe. So this is the tier list. If you guys are any Dark Step mains and think Dark Step is actually SSS plus, then be sure to let me know in the comments. But just let me know what your tier list looks like. And also check out this video where I ranked every single sword in Blox.